People, Daniel from Devil & Sons Guitars here, and today I'm going to show you how to apply SprayMax 2K to your guitars. So SprayMax 2K comes in a can, and the 2K means it's a two-part spray. So if you're mixing it up for an air gun, you'd have two liquids that you mix together. You might be familiar with epoxy resins. It's just like that. The advantage of a 2K is it tends to be harder and more durable. Now, just like any can, you need to shake it first. A good shake for 2 minutes. I won't bore you and let you sit through all of that, so I'll speed it up a little bit here. So the way the 2K works in a can is on the lid of this one, there's this little red button that you put on the underside of the can where it looks like another spray nozzle. But actually when you push this down, I tend to push it down a bit, but then turn it over and really push down hard on the can, it releases the extra liquid that's in the inside. And then you shake it for a further 2 minutes. And here I am, I'm just holding that red button down. Don't really need to once it's been engaged, but I always do it because I'm a little bit paranoid. Again, I won't let you sit for a whole 2 minutes. Now, here I am prepping my guitar ready to spray. I've got a tack cloth there just to remove all the dirt. But essentially, before you get to the stage of spraying, you would have watched my other videos and gone through the stage of putting your colours on and prepping ready for spraying. Prepping ready for spraying is very important. I've got a whole video about how to do that, where we sand and make sure everything is smooth. But actually for this guitar, it hasn't been properly prepped because it's been sprayed with the Montana Gold acrylic paints. And because I've given it a sort of sunburst effect, what we end up with is a slight texture to the paint, and sanding that down would smooth it off, but also get rid of that sunburst effect. So I'm leaving this here to show you how I would go ahead and work with a body that isn't totally smooth. I've got a whole other video about Montana spray paints coming out soon because I think they're so good and so versatile to use, but they do have this risk of a chalky finish. Ideally you want to put 3 coats of SprayMax on. Now if you had prepped your body first, 3 coats is all you need. But like I said, this is a slightly textured body, so it'll be slightly different. But still using 3 coats, it's recommended you leave 10 to 15 minutes between coats. Here I am in my spray booth, and I've got my extractor fan on. I'm also wearing my mask, because this thing is not good if you're breathing it in. So you want to make sure you're in a ventilated space. And you can see what I'm doing here with my sprays is nice, even movements. When I talk about 1 coat, I always think of 1 coat on each surface as being a vertical and a horizontal pass, and that is what I call 1 coat. I'm trying my best to be even. In some of my earlier videos on how to prep and prime your guitar, I showed you the best way to use spray cans, but here I am trying to make sure that the spray can is about a hand's width away from the guitar body. You can already see how shiny this is, and this is now the 3rd coat. So it's going to be even shinier afterwards. But you don't want to leave it just as it is once it's dry. You then want to go to the next stage, which is your shine and buff. Again, another video about that in this series. But here for the 3rd coat, I'm doing my gentle left to right. I'm making sure I'm not starting my spray actually on the body, but starting the spray and finishing the spray off of the body, so you don't get any pool of paint where the nozzle just suddenly squirts it out or ends it. I'm using a really temporary stand that I've made until I have time to make a proper one, so it's a bit fiddly, but I like to work with my guitars like this and not flat. It does run the risk of having rungs dripping down, but it makes it easier to get all over the body. And with spray cans, it's much better because if you're pointing down, the spray isn't so good. Now here we can see those lumps that I was talking about that come out of the Montana spray. And what causes them is the way that the paint falls onto the guitar. It's not as smooth as some other paints, but I do love the finish. I love this sort of dry, powdery finish. But with the light on it, you can see what we might also call an effect of orange peel, where you're putting your spray on much too close or too thick. Now what I'm doing here is sanding down those 3 coats that I've just put on. And the reason I can sand it down safely now is I will be sanding through those 3 coats nice and smooth, but not so deep that I'm going through the coats onto the paint of the body. Whereas if I was sanding the paint on the body, it'd be really easy to remove away layers of colour. So you will not need to do 3 coats, sand and do another 3 coats if your body is properly prepped. I just keep repeating that. But in this case, you will need to. And if you get orange peel, you will need to. So it recommends 10 to 15 minutes between coats, but I would leave it 24 hours or more to properly harden before you get on with the next sanding job, before putting another 2 or 3 coats on, if you have orange peel or if you had that slightly textured guitar like I did. Another situation where you might have a textured guitar is if you're hand painting a design on it. When you're hand painting, each layer of paint is going to be building up on top of others, so it will be quite lumpy. You won't want to risk sanding it before you put the 2K on, because if you do that, you might sand through some of the paintwork that you've done. So that would be exactly the same as using this Montana spray. And what I'm doing here is just very simply preparing for another 3 layers that I'm going to go on top once this body is smooth. Now, if you had put your paint on so thick that even after the next 3 layers you think it's quite lumpy, you could sand it again and put another 3 layers on. But probably what you'll find is you can sand it again as part of the buffing process, and that will smooth out all of the lumps, ready for using your buffing compounds, of which I recommend Maguire's. And then before my guitar gets its next set of 3 coats, I've just got to make sure I'm cleaning everything off. So the stage before the tack rag, which you saw at the beginning of this video, once the guitar's in the spray booth, is to give it a clean down. And I like to use this mix, which you would have seen before if you watched any of my other videos on painting. It's a mix of 50% methylated spirits, and 50% distilled white vinegar. It was a trick taught to me by the guy that ran the French polishing course I did years ago, one that he'd been using in real life with French polishing for many, many years, a way of basically getting grime off of wood. Now, in case you were wondering, the guitar that I've been using in this video, which was hanging behind me in the intro, and you'll see behind me again at the end, it's the Squire Strat that I had when I was a teenager. I've had for many years, and recently embedded this broken mirror onto it, like I do for my clients. You can order one of these from my website. Sometimes I have them in stock, otherwise I make them to order. But I'm peeling off now the masking tape that I put on whilst I was doing the first 3 coats of SprayMax to reveal the shattered mirror underneath, which is now going to be coated with the next 3 coats of SprayMax. So there'll be a really smooth link between the paint work and the mirror work. Excellent, thanks for watching. Now, if you use a different brand to SprayMax, do let us know in the comments what you think of it. And if you're here looking at the video and you don't know what to use, check the comments in case someone else is recommending something different. I was a recent convert to SprayMax. It really is easy to apply, gives a great shine, dries hard. You can't go wrong with it. So I've got some other videos in this series of how to paint your guitar. Here's a link to the playlist, and there's probably more coming depending on how far in the future you're watching this. So do like and subscribe. Until next time, happy strumming.